Hello and welcome to the LRM podcast in association with Britpop. I'm Martin Dominy.
And I'm Steve Miller.
And you join us for an hour of chat about Land Rovers and everything to do with owning them. What's new in your world then, Steve? What's been going on? I've not seen you for ages, it feels like.
Well, I'm fresh back from not so sunny Whitby.
Oh, weather was bad, was it?
Yeah, you could say that.
Well,
first day, beautiful weather. Good Costa del Whitby, we called it.
Right.
The next day, rain, and it rained. So it rained every day.
How long were you there for?
6 nights, and it rained for day and night for pretty much 5 of them. So to say the camping setup has thoroughly been tested, as is my relationship with my wife, is an understatement.
Well, that's a blessing and a curse, isn't it? At least, yeah. The tent is waterproof. And is the awning waterproof, or is
the awning is fantastic. So it's the Tough Trek H2 something, I can't remember what it's called now. Tough Trek H2 awning.
Be on the website.
It's on their website, yeah. So there's 6 panels, so it's like an internal room. And so we worked out, actually, everything works really well. And the roof tent, obviously, is a separate thing to that, the front of the roof tent. I came back not divorced, so we didn't argue. Nothing went wrong. We enjoyed ourselves.
Well, you can't really ask for much more than that, apart from maybe a bit more sunshine.
Quite possibly. But what I did find interesting about camping, with that, obviously the camping trailer and the Land Rover, is the amount of attention it got.
Oh, really? What sort of other stuff was on the campsite?
Well, generic stuff, so there was the motorhome area and the camper van area, and then we were in like the camping field, so next door to us was a traditional sort of 4-person tent, and there were a few people around, but our setup caused quite a bit of stir because 2 of the people had never seen a reef tent before.
Really?
Never. Wow, what a setup. So they were really impressed. I had to have a look round. The guy who ran the campsite, he came over as like in awe of the Land Rover because he's always wanted a Land Rover Defender.
Who can blame him? Well,
I know. And he said, can I be cheeky? I said, well, yeah, you can. And he said, can I drive your Defender? I said, have you never driven a Land Rover? He said, no. I said, you should never meet your heroes.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So he said, I only want to take it around the campsite area. Is it a few rough tracks in the place? I said, yeah, fill your boots. And he came back after about 5 minutes with a big grin on his face.
Oh, you didn't hate it?
No.
Wow.
I said, did you like it? And he said, yeah. He said, it's everything I want. Everything I want in a car. I said, yeah. You haven't gone very far.
Yeah, a couple of laps of a nice scenic campsite is not the same as doing a 4-hour trip, is it? But
which I'd incidentally just done because I towed the camping trailer and it took about 4 hours to get there.
Right, okay. And, well, I'm glad. Despite the rain, it was a good test of its ability and a good long run for the Defender as well.
Well, I've worked out that most of our camping setup now is perfect.
Right.
But what I have worked out also is because we've got the trailer and the 90, we're not exactly camping light. We're taking a lot of stuff with us.
Ah, okay. But if you're staying in the same place for a while, that's kind of what you want. You don't want to be without stuff, do you?
We wouldn't make backpack campers. We would certainly... The trailer was quite full, as was the back of the Land Rover. Where our Jack Russell, Sam, he was there. He enjoyed it. He loved it.
Sammy. Lots of walks with Sam and chilling out.
Loads of walks around the area.
Oh, good.
What a lovely place. And lots of Land Rovers as well, waved at by quite a few Defender drivers.
Excellent.
So, yeah, nice.
Sounds quite nice and idyllic, which is pretty much the exact opposite of what my week's been like.
Well, of course.
I've been on a roller coaster of emotion this week, Steve.
Well, yeah, because we touched on a few podcasts ago, we touched on reliable Land Rovers, didn't we?
What we actually said was never tell anyone your Land Rover is reliable because it will bite you.
And we actually said those words, and we even touched wood, didn't we?
Yeah, the wood clearly didn't work because my Freelander might well be dead.
Oh. And it isn't the turbo that's let go.
No, the turbo was still fine. It's. I will start this by saying that this is entirely my fault. I can't place the blame anywhere else. It's all my own doing, because a couple of years ago, I was driving the trusty Freelander 2, and the low coolant warning light came on, the little message on the screen. And I thought, oh, probably the sensor in the tank. Check the level. The level was fine.
Electrical gremlin. Ignore it.
Well, it's typical. Discovery 3 and 4 and Sport, the header tanks always pack up the level sensor in the bottom, gets stuck or fails, and it puts the light on the dash, and there's nothing wrong with the level. It's the sensor. But, I was annoyed. I didn't want to see that the low coolant level thing was on all the time.
Despite the coolant being okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So what I did, I ordered a level sensor, because you can get them separately, for the Freelander 2. Went to change it and noticed that the wires were kinked underneath the tank and they'd broken, and that was the issue. Granted, I should have checked it out first before ordering the sensor, but these things happen. And thought to myself, I'll sort this out temporarily. It will be a temporary fix.
Oh.
And you know how these
long-term temporary fixes
become permanent fixes.
Yeah, I know.
So what I did was strip the wires back and crimp them together. So it completely deleted the low coolant sensor.
I think I know where this is going.
So, when was it? It was last Friday. My wife had taken the Freelander into town to do a few bits, and she came back.
You could blame her.
I'm not going to blame her.
You could, because she was driving it.
If the low coolant message was coming up, I could blame her. But because I deleted the sensor and just looped the wiring out, how can I place the blame there?
No, you can't. No. Fair play.
She comes in the house and she goes, the fans are running really fast on the Freelander. I thought, that's a bit weird. Maybe she's had the aircon on and it's just, the fan is spooling down after running it through the condenser. Yeah. So I go outside and both cooling fans are roaring through the rad, absolutely screaming, and I'm like, this isn't good. So I pop the bonnet, open the header tank on the coolant expansion bottle, and there is nothing in there. And I put about 4 litres of coolant in it before it even started to appear in the bottle. And I thought,
she is drained.
Where is this gone? Why is there no? It was obviously, it was feeling the heat from not having any antifreeze and any coolant in it. So I quickly topped it up, went round the block. Didn't notice on the gauge that it was hot. I don't know if it did get hot. Again, my wife said she didn't notice anything. There was no warning lights come on, nothing like that. So I don't know if it has properly boiled up. I should imagine it has, given how much water it was missing. But I don't know.
How far had you been?
It was about 20-minute drive.
Okay.
But I don't know how far into... Excuse me. I don't know how far into that it would have lost the water.
Yeah, so 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back.
So, I don't know.
Or it lost it on the journey that you did before and still didn't notice.
It might have been low for a while and I've just not noticed because I'm an idiot.
Bad maintenance, Martin. You should know better.
I should know better. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've gone, right, well, I'll see what the level's like in the morning. Let it cool down. Level was still down in the morning. Started it up. White smoke from the exhaust.
Ooh.
Like more white smoke than you normally get from condensation in the morning, and I'm thinking, this is bad. This is bad news.
Yeah, there's condensation and then there's white smoke, isn't there?
You could put your hand over the tailpipe and sniff your hand and it would smell of coolant. So I'm thinking, this is burning water.
So that's where your coolant's going then?
Some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it was lashing out the front of the engine onto the under tray from somewhere in the vicinity of the front of the engine. So all the signs are pointing to head gasket, possibly worse. It could be a cracked head or something. However, being the eternal optimist that I am, I've put an EGR cooler on it because they're known to put coolant into the exhaust system.
Okay. So fairly significant investment into a car that might
about
be dead.
300 quid.
Right, okay.
And then I stripped all the front of the engine and the ancillary drive, so aircon compressor off, power steering pump off, alternator, fuel filter. Not a 5-minute job. And had a good look, and I can't see it leaking from between the head and the block, so I've kind of hedged my bets on the oil filter housing, which has a cooler on the top, which obviously has coolant that runs through. I've stripped it down. The new part is at my house now, so I'll be fitting that tomorrow. And then basically just keeping everything crossed and praying that an EGR cooler and the oil cooler fix it, because if they don't, then I've had some quotes for used engines and I've had some quotes for supplied and fitted and just supplied, and I think that will be the end of the road for the poor Freelander if it does need an engine, unfortunately.
Because you're in a bit of a dilemma, aren't you? Because all the previous work that's happened to the Freelander, you're I mean, if you were paying for a garage to do all of those jobs rather than doing it yourself, you are thousands of pounds in, aren't you?
Yeah. So in the time I've known it, it's had a full automatic gearbox rebuild with torque converter and valve body. I've recently had a recon rear diff because that was getting noisy. I've done all 4 hub bearings, all discs and pads all round, handbrake shoes and mechanism. Front, it's got Mailer HD front arms on it and drop links all round. Front and rear dampers. There's literally nothing that's not been touched on it mechanically. So for the engine, if it has failed, it would be a massive shame to throw all that work and investment away. But I'm not going to spend £2,500 having an engine fitted in a car that's probably worth £1,500. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but that £1,500, it's worth more than that to you. And this is it'd be easy for us to sit here now. Come on, let's go Land Rover shopping, because we could do that.
Yeah,
couldn't we?
It might come to that. We'll see tomorrow.
I kind of want it to come to that.
Thanks, mate.
I want to start looking around. When we were given this, our words of wisdom the other day about looking at second-hand Land Rovers in garages and on Marketplace. Let's do it. Let's go and have a look.
I've been looking already, trying to preempt, the worst case scenario. And do you know what? At the moment, used Land Rover shopping is kind of depressing.
Which is a shame, isn't it? It's because you don't really know what you want.
The thing is, right, I have had the Freelander about 4 years now and I've done a lot of miles in it. I really like it. I rate them so highly as a usable car.
They're great cars. Yeah.
I'm at the point now where if it is, the curtain call for the poor old Freelander, I do kind of fancy a change.
Yeah, see, that's where things get expensive or dangerous. Because better the devil you know sometimes than buying another one.
I also feel like I'd be a bit hypocritical to have blown the trumpet and shouted from the rooftops about how great the Freelander 2 is for years and then get rid of it.
Well, no, but you'd be getting rid of it for purely personal reasons, not the fact that it's a bad car, because they're not bad cars. Why don't you just buy another one and then keep yours for spares?
Well, the sensible thing to do would be take all the good bits off mine, all the bits I've replaced, put them in the shed, and then buy another one, so I've got a whole stock of spares.
In the hope that you're the other one that you buy needs a gearbox.
Yeah.
That's what I've done this before many times, and you leave these bits hanging around until you no longer need them, and then you end up having to get rid of 2 lots of things.
Yeah. It's again, storing the stuff. Gearbox isn't a small thing that can be easily moved around.
No.
You've got hubs, all sorts of bits and pieces.
And the hassle of taking it to pieces on your driveway.
Yeah, again, and
you don't want to upset your new neighbours.
I would feel better that, I know this is like sentimental, I rang a local breaker, Avenger 4x4. I've dealt with them for years. I get on with the owner, Alan, really well. And I was genuinely choking up on the phone telling him about this and that, what would he offer me for it to go as it is if the head gasket's gone and, it needs an engine. It'll be, and I loved my Discovery 1 that I had for probably, I don't know how many years, 5 or 6 years. I loved that car to bits. But when I sold that, I was selling it to an enthusiast that I knew would take care of it, and I believe he's still got it. It was his wedding car and all sorts. So that was a happy sale. If I get rid of the Freelander 2, I know it's going to be stripped to bits, and that'll be it. That'll be the end of it, and that really makes me sad.
You see, that's why that deserves to be fixed.
But it's head over heart, Steve.
Yeah, but then
I just can't. I can't justify. It's eight to £900. Looking around, £800 to £900 for a used engine. You've got no guarantee with that engine. You don't know the history of it. You don't know how well it's been serviced. You don't know, that could have suffered overheating in the past as well. I'm never going to put a new engine in it because they're obscene money.
How much is obscene money?
I haven't looked, but it's going to be 4,000 or 5,000 quid, I expect.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not going to do that.
No, because the rest of the car, you were talking about corrosion the other day.
Yeah, so
And,
mechanically
you know,
it's perfect, but it is still, it's getting a little bit bubbly at the back of the sills and things like that, and the rear arches.
It's 17 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 07, so 17. Yeah, 17 years old.
You see, most people, we say this all the time, don't we? But most people, a 17-year-old car is usually fit for the scrapyard, and yet with Land Rovers, where you think you want to make it go on forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think the Freelander was ever built like a Defender, where they're not. You can't replace, but they're not like a Trigger's broom as such, are they?
No, you don't see them being. I mean, the early ones are a bit different. They're constantly being recycled because people are breaking them all the time. You've got a constant supply of spares, and people will just buy cheap second-hand bits and keep their car on the road if they don't want to replace it. I mean, this has opened up a complete can of worms for me, because I'm thinking, okay, well, if I don't want to get another Freelander 2, hypothetically, what would I buy? I would love to get back into Discovery.
Well, we were looking the other day, weren't we, at Discovery 3s and 4s, and it's tempting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they are really tempting. Discovery 3 is a great value. I love the interior on the Discovery 4. I would love a Discovery 4, but then I'm thinking to myself, it's more complex than Freelander 2. You've obviously got air suspension. There's a lot more, suspension arms that can wear out. They're a
They're
heavy
heavy car. Yeah, tyres will wear very quickly.
Yeah, heavy on brakes, bushes, tyres.
Fuel.
I don't think I'd suffer the fuel as
No,
badly.
they're not too bad, but they're not. There's cheaper cars to run.
The tax is expensive on them. The tax is a lot more.
Yeah, 730 now a year.
Yeah, so I begrudge paying that just because. Have you seen the UK roads?
You need a Discovery 4 to put up with the UK roads.
You would.
Air suspension over the roads to where you live.
It would glide along, wouldn't it?
That's got to be worth the £700 tax bill.
Do you know what's caught my eye the most, though, out of everything?
L322.
No. Discovery 2. Go back to a Discovery 2.
Default setting for a lot of people.
The
trusted TD5.
The TD5, you know what you're getting. Yeah, they have their niggles and things like that, but, Discovery 3 and 4 are fantastic, and I would have one at the drop of a hat. But I would constantly have in the back of my mind about engine failure, and I've just been dealing with that already with the Freelander potentially. So I'd like to reinforce the fact that this is purely, I may fit the oil cooler tomorrow, bleed it up, and it might be perfect. I'm dealing with worst case scenario here.
But you are also putting off the inevitable that a Freelander isn't going to go on forever.
No, and the turbo is getting slightly noisy on it, so that'll want doing in the future. And it's where do you stop putting money into something? But
the trouble is, what I noticed about TD5 Discoveries is the good ones. How much they're going for?
Yes, this has thoroughly opened my eyes to find to coin a phrase, unmolested original TD5 Discovery, especially
very few,
especially a facelift. Wow, they make money now. They make serious money.
So they're now Discovery 3s are probably where the bottom of the market in terms of values. But Discovery 2s were there at one point as well, weren't they? Now they're on the up.
Yeah, well, the thing is, obviously, Discovery 1s and 2s were the off-roader's choice for years and years and years, and now that has reared its ugly head in the fact there aren't that many standard, nice, lowish mileage TD5 Disco 2s around. So if you've got one, hold on to it. Or if you've got one, email me and I'll come and buy it if it's sensible money. But,
but be kind, because Martin's had a tough week.
I've had a tough week. I haven't been swanning around the country like Steve. I've been at the computer and get up to my elbows in dirty old grease trying to fix the poor old Freelander.
Yeah.
But wow, yeah, they are Disco 3s. Don't get me wrong. Like you say, they're at the bottom of their depreciation curve, I would say now, aren't they? They're they're never going to be cheaper, I don't think.
Well, they can't be, because they're almost breaker money, aren't they?
Probably. Some of them are, yeah, leggy, sort of scruffy ones. But even them, the capability and the space you get for your money.
I still maintain Discovery 3 is the nicest Land Rover I've ever owned in terms of comfort and practicality. Just fantastic things.
So, I agree with you completely. As I briefly mentioned before, I owned a Disco 3 for a bit and it was brilliant. But I think if I'm gonna make that leap and spend some money on something else, I'd love a 4. I think I'd get into a 3 every day and think, oh, I wish I'd spent a few extra quid.
They are. Yeah, the 3 litre engine is better.
It's a cut above, isn't it?
It is, and the gearbox.
Well, obviously the 6-speed was done up to 2012, and then they put the 8-speed in, which is just
the 8-speed is silky smooth.
Glorious combination. That 3 litre twin turbo with the 8-speed box. Oh.
So somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was talking to me about Discovery 4s the other day, and I had a look on Auto Trader because it's you get all the dealer stock on there.
Yeah.
You can still spend 30,000 quid on a Discovery 4.
Yeah, the really late ones.
The late ones.
The ones with AdBlue that you can drive in London.
Ah, okay.
That's a big.
But those values of Discovery 4s are the Discovery 5 is actually cheaper.
Yes. Yeah. The early Disco 5s have dipped. I saw one the other day and I had to look twice at the price because I thought there's no way I think it was like 16,000 quid for a Disco 5. It was 3 litre.
Okay.
So not the 2 litre SD4.
Not the ticking time bomb.
Not the reliability challenged Ingenium. The reliability challenged 3 litre instead. But a lot of car for the money. I even thought about going even further back in time than a TD5 and getting like a TDI Defender or something like that. But for a daily driver that you're up and down the country and you want reliability and a little bit of comfort, don't you?
You have reliability, but you just won't have a lot of speed or comfort.
Yeah.
It's the comfort thing. I mean, I was towing that Penman trailer up to Whitby and straight up the A1, A64 round York towards Whitby, and I do enjoy towing, but I knew I'd done the journey.
Sure.
At the end of that 4 hours, I was like, ugh. And I had to sort of peel myself out.
It goes back to that thing as well, doesn't it? Once you've been spoilt with a certain level of comfort for ages, you kind of going back to something a bit more rudimentary kind of doesn't make sense. But I suppose on the next podcast, next week's, I will be able to reveal all about whether the trusty Freelander 2 lives to fight another day, or if I've had to put my hand in my pocket and buy something else, and what that might be.
Scary thoughts.
I should maybe drop Tom Barnard a line and see if he's got any hot tips on anything good for sale.
Yeah, he's got one eye on the auctions at all time, hasn't he?
He has. In fact, there's a lovely Discovery 4 going through an auction tomorrow night, which is tempting. It's got a buy it now price at Angley Car Auctions at Kings Lynn, 4,000 quid buy it now, and it looks like it's been really looked after. It's so tempting.
Just go and buy it. Oh. What can possibly go wrong?
Well, we've cursed it already by saying that, but
I know. But
I do like it. It's 37,000 miles. It's quite low for it's a template, quite an early one.
Okay.
So 6-speed, but lovely interior. It does look like it's been looked after. 4,000 quid, so cheap for what a car that was probably 40 or 50 brand new.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. A lot of car for the money.
Yeah, definitely. But that's been my week. I've been daily driving the V8 Series 3, which has been actually a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I didn't realise, like I said before, it sort of people seem to like it at Land Rover shows. They like it even more when you like going to Tesco in it or going and getting petrol or whatever. The number of people I've had chat to me, and they've had people taking pictures outside Halfords and things like that. It makes you smile, It's just something different.
Yeah, stand-out cars, aren't they?
Whenever I see anything old, sort of Disco 1, Range Rover Classic, or any series Land Rover out and about during the day, I always think, good on you. Have a little smile to myself, give them a wave, and just think, keep the old stuff going. But,
there's your answer.
What, just daily drive that?
Yeah.
Forever? Yeah, I don't think... my wife probably wouldn't drive it. So if
you're
I
on
ever
first
had to
name terms with your local petrol station.
I would be single-handedly propping up Esso, I think, if I drove that every day. But it has been, and again, the more I've used it, the better it's got. So the leaf springs are bedding in nicely. They're sort of...
no, that might be your tolerance.
Do you think
to it?
it's all in my head, actually?
It
They're
is.
not getting better. I'm just becoming more used to it.
Yes.
You might be right there, Steve.
Yeah.
What I did do is up the tyre pressures, because I've got the big winch on the front. Anyone who's seen it, I've got a worn 8274 winch, which I actually bought at Newbury, one of our spares days, but not a light thing to have on the front bumper. And now, of course, I've got the spare wheel on the bonnet as well, so there's quite a lot of weight over the front.
There,
I did bump the tyre pressures up a little bit to make the steering lighter, which has helped.
So cheap way of fitting power steering.
It
right
is
there.
the cheapest power steering conversion you'll ever find, I think. But yeah, it's been good fun. It's a, you know, I enjoy driving around in it. But similarly, if I was to go and see a vehicle or someone right up in the top of the country, I would probably miss the Freelander even more if I was driving that all the time.
What I found saying about being in Whitby and the campsite and people, the amount of people who will talk to you about Land Rovers, who want them but have never owned one.
Right. Okay.
So this podcast needs to encourage people to go and buy a Land Rover.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're listening and you haven't actually got a Land Rover, or you're just tentatively thinking about it, just go and do it.
Just do it. You only live once.
Yeah.
Have a go, and if you don't like it, then...
Which is what the advice I gave to the 2 or 3 people I spoke to. Just go and buy one, because it's cool.
There's so much choice out there now as well. It's
There
really,
is. There is.
I mean, a bit of a pain if you're selling, but if you're in the market for your first one or you're looking for another one, the number of ads we look at that go onto the Land Rover Monthly website on our very own marketplace, plentiful every day. Fresh Land Rovers for sale every day. Not just Defenders either. A right mixture of stuff, and I check religiously to see if there's anything that would fit the bill for me, but nothing's slapped me in the face yet and jumped out.
Well, we said before, Land Rovers find you.
I know.
Don't go looking.
I'd like them to hurry up and find me if the poor old girl does need replacing, because...
So if you've got a Land Rover then you want to sell and you're listening to this, email editorial@lrm.co.uk.
Please, yeah.
And,
if it could be
flog it to Martin and we'll have a laugh.
a sensibly priced Disco 2 or 4 would be brilliant.
Or 3. Or
3. I'd have a 3.
Basically, if you've got anything sporting the green oval, run it past Martin.
Or
what's your budget, Martin?
It's a bit flexible, but no more than probably 5,000 or 6,000.
Well, there you go. So, you could sell your car direct to the editor of Land Rover Monthly.
Yeah, and we could pick it to bits on the podcast if it's good or bad.
Yes, if you were selling a shed, equally sell it to Martin, because I want to laugh.
If you get in contact and say, I've got a car that'd suit you down to the ground, but I'm only going to sell it to you from this petrol station, then I'm probably not going to come and meet you. But
should you not be buying cars from petrol stations then?
Oh,
like meeting at petrol stations?
It's hit or miss, really.
It is,
yeah. But that's what's new in my world. It's been like I say, a bit of an emotional time, a bit of but then again, also it's been quite nice to sort of get stuck in of an evening, get my hands dirty and pull the Freelander apart to see if I can find the problem.
Well, that's it, and that is why we produce Land Rover Monthly, for other people to gain from our experiences.
Well, exactly, and as well as hearing us yapping on about what we're up to, there's a whole host of people from all over the world giving us their fantastic stories and spreading the Land Rover love with all our readers and listeners.
Exactly.
What more could you ask for from a Land Rover publication? Talking of which, a man who's been enjoying the podcast, this was a lovely email to receive earlier today. A man called Ollie Tebbett has got in touch, and he says, just a quick note to say how much I've been enjoying the LRM podcast. It's become an essential companion driving my 1985-90 and also when I'm driving tractors bringing in the hay between the frequent rainstorms, of which there have been plenty recently, as you well know. And he's attached a lovely picture of his very, very smart 90 with his Cocker Spaniel called Waffle.
I think that's the best name for a Cocker Spaniel I've ever heard.
It's a brilliant name, isn't it?
Brilliant.
And
his 90 looks amazing. I love that.
It's a
proper
really
original old bus.
Gorgeous condition.
He must have some very, very good speakers to be able to listen to us whilst driving.
Either that, or he's got noise-cancelling headphones, which is
I didn't think of that.
A possibility.
Newfangled technology.
Disclaimer: you should always be aware of your surroundings at all times when driving a Land Rover. Anyway, he says, "What's the ultimate Land Rover dog car?" It's quite a valid question. We're sort of on that cusp of that sort of trail of thought.
Discovery 3 or 4.
It probably is, because the boot is enormous. You can
It
get
is beautiful size.
genuine Land Rover dog cage to go in the back.
Yeah.
And when your dog's getting on a little bit, as mine is, yours is no spring chicken either, is he? Bless him.
It's small enough to lift though.
Oh, true. Yeah, mine's a great big lummox of an animal. He's a bit of a heifer.
Takes off his owner.
Cheers, mate. You can deck it on the air suspension, and you've not got.
And you can buy ramps.
Yeah, you can buy.
Yeah, and your boot's big enough to put the ramp in it.
Oh, I think we've settled it. Discovery 3 or 4.
Or 5, depends on your budget.
Or 5. Anything with air suspension. And although...
Yeah, but you could also get air conditioning in the back of your Discoveries, can't you? It would be...
I suppose, yeah, I mean, I was thinking also Range Rover, but then Discovery has a split tailgate now as well, doesn't it? So you're sort of neither here nor there.
Mm.
Do you see what I mean?
I would definitely go down that route.
So I think Discovery, best all-rounder.
Mm-hmm.
And as Ollie rightfully says, maybe it depends on the dog. Like you say, your little Jack Russell, you can pick him up under your arm.
Lift him in.
He's happy as Larry, isn't he? But yeah, thanks for that, Ollie. That really made us smile this afternoon.
Yeah,
it was nice to see.
And
that
it's nice to it is nice to receive some positive.
Yeah. So
news and
yeah, we had a couple of readers' questions as well. Listeners' questions. Am I ever going to get that right?
No, you won't.
No, I
so
don't think so.
Listeners'
either.
questions.
Yeah, so it's been trying to work through them and sort of drop them in here and there. I'm just frantically... There we go. Anthony got in touch. L322 Range Rover. No, not L322 Range Rover. His first question was about his L322 Range Rover, but it was too long to talk about on the podcast. So his second question's about his TD5 Defender. The fan has given up.
Okay.
By that he means the heater fan, not the fan,
okay.
which is also quite common because they lock up and then they make a horrible roaring sound like a Yeti being stabbed. Have you ever heard of TD5 with a locked up fan?
No, nor have I heard of a Yeti being stabbed either, so I don't know what that sounds like. I can imagine
similar to a spigot bush.
Oh,
you know all about them.
The spigot bush noise of a TD5 is probably the worst noise for my Land Rover.
Funnily enough, I posted a YouTube short and on our socials of the TD5 squeaky clutch pedal.
Yeah, my squeaky clutch pedal.
And that got a good response from so many people saying, have you never heard of grease?
And I stupidly always thought, I can't remember who I asked, said to me, well, it can't be fixed. They all do that. Well, they all do that, but they all lack grease. So that's a job for this evening. I'm going to see if I can stop my TD5 squeaking.
Take the little cover off your top of your slave cylinder and squirt some grease down on the pivot and then grease the spring underneath the in the footwell as well.
Because that is quite an annoying noise.
Yeah, but it is synonymous with Land Rovers. They all squeak in exactly the same way.
They do.
So you might miss the squeak after a while. It might have deleted some of the character. Anyway, we're digressing because Anthony's TD5 Defender, should he buy a new fan or fit aircon?
Oh, so fitting aircon to a TD5 Defender is rather expensive.
It is expensive, and it also won't actually fix his problem because when the aircon's not on, it still relies on the bulkhead mounted heater box to blow hot air. The aircon's totally separate.
Do any of them blow hot air?
With the velocity and force of a hamster sneezing, potentially.
Yeah, it's lukewarm.
It's more like a mild breeze, isn't it?
I am a believer, personally, you should always fix things and do it properly.
Yeah.
So if that needs doing, do it, because that's still, whether you fit aircon or not, something's still broken.
Yes.
So
aircon in a TD5 as well. The factory method of doing that is to get the extra dashboard section which screws on the underneath of the dash. You'll probably know what they've got 4 vents in them and a little
which
cutout.
Actually catch on your shins a little bit as well, so you actually don't get a lot of leg room if you're quite long in the leg, as I am 6'3". It's not the most comfortable thing to have.
No, so you lose a bit of space. It's a pretty involved job to fit it, and also if you haven't already had aircon or the extended nose, you need to put the nose cone on the Defender to fit the condenser, which means the grille sits further out.
Of course, yes.
Which some people like the look of, some don't. So there's a few things to think about there. Personally, I would fix the fan because it's not a massive job once you've got the heater box off. and then I would just use the bulkhead flaps like a proper Defender.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I absolutely agree.
So
there's our top tip for...
Hope this helps. And also, Defender dashboards I find becoming incredibly hard to find that haven't been cut up and had loads of holes drilled in them. So
yes,
there's that to think of if you were to fit aircon.
Which is about, I think, about £3,000, isn't it?
I think it's more than that now.
Is it?
A complete kit is £4,000 to £5,000, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, brand new.
Well, then absolutely not. Yeah, no. Just buy another Land Rover.
Yeah. Buy yourself a nice Discovery that's already got aircon.
There you go. Top tip.
Solved your problem.
I've noticed something. Every time we give our consumer advice, we should buy more than one Land Rover.
Well, this is something that I have been grateful for. I know I've had a bit of a whinge about the Freelander, but I've been so grateful and happy that I've had the Series 3 sat there, because if I hadn't, obviously my wife out and about, she works as well, she's got her own car, I would be stranded, wouldn't I, if it wasn't for the good old Series 3. So if you've got one Land Rover, you definitely need to buy a second one, whether it's for backup or just for pleasure use, really. I think it's just got to be done, hasn't it?
Anyway, talking about second Land Rovers.
Yes.
Remember, we were talking last week's podcast. You were talking about a drink, amaretto, the colour.
Yeah.
It's not amaretto.
You said it was a flower or something, didn't you?
Yeah, but I think amaretto is a biscuit, isn't it? Anyway.
Amaretto's a biscuit.
Amaretto, I'm sure it's a biscuit.
Is it?
Yeah, you have it with coffee, don't you? Like a little amaretto.
We
may be completely... We're still not Google what amaretto is. It could be anything, couldn't it? But
we were wrong anyway.
We were wrong. And the colour isn't that.
It's amaranto.
Amaranto, which is a flower.
Is it?
Yeah, amaranto. If you Google amaranto, it's actually a flower, and it's the same colour as that Land Rover is from Cool and Vintage.
Well, we've cleared that up now. It's definitely not amaretto, which is a drink, but it's amaranto, which is a gorgeous, deep red, maroony colour, isn't it?
Which I incidentally remember, if you recall, said, if I sprayed my Land Rover that colour, you would help me build it to save you money.
Yeah.
Right. So this is. I worked whilst sitting.
I don't feel like I'm saving a lot of money at the moment, to be honest with you.
No, but what I worked out was my B-Reg 90, the rolling chassis project in the garage, is going to be 40 years old next July. So I'd like to, so if I put it out there now, it gives me a target, because everyone's going to be wondering why I've been lazy.
Right.
I would like to get it on the road in a year. Well, next July.
Okay.
For its 40th birthday.
That does make sense. Have you painted yourself into a corner now by saying that?
Well, yeah.
But I suppose you're going to be working to a deadline, so it might actually get done.
But there's a reason now. There's a reason to get it done, and it gives me 12 months, pretty much.
Something to
Well, we're already midway, aren't we, through July now? I forget what day it is, but...
Yeah, the middle of July. Not that you would know it, given the weather.
I've now only really got 11 months, because you need it on the road for its birthday.
Yes, because it has to be MOT'd before it can be made historic, I think.
If I put something together, I would definitely MOT anyway. And there's no reason why the running gear of that is the same as a later Land Rover. There's no reason why I wouldn't MOT that. I would want to know that it was safe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It would become, if the tax exemption thing still is in play next year. Obviously, we've had a change of government and way to Labour, and they abolished it last time round, and Conservative brought it back in. So potentially it might not be tax exempt anymore next year.
Yeah.
But I'll worry about that. I've still got to get that Land Rover done.
I think it's a good thing to aim for, and like you say, you're working to a deadline, so you've got that to spur you on. You get out there in the shed in the evenings and crack on and make some progress.
So yeah, I'm putting it out there right now for our listeners.
You can hold Steve to that. If you ever come to one of our events, you say, "How's the 90 getting on?" And he'll either go,
push me.
Great.
Whenever you see me at Spares Day or any particular Land Rover event, then push me and say, "Why is it not done?" Get off your arse and do it.
Yeah, and rightly so. And I'll do the same. I'll do my bit.
Yeah,
probably more actually. Because no doubt you'll I'm happy to help. To be fair, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good crack, isn't it, when you're working together in a shed chatting about crap and.
The biggest Land Rover project I'd say I've been involved with was the old, what was the Blue 90 belonging to Land Rover owner, that then went red. But that was all done at Brit Parts workshop in Shropshire, and that was literally strip the whole thing down, bare chassis, similar to what although you've obviously built up to a rolling chassis already.
Yeah, I've done all the dirty work's done now. It's putting new bits onto a new chassis, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got engine, gearbox, transfer box to go in, and then bulkhead, and then build the body up. But
sounds easy when you put it like that.
yeah, just throw it together.
Yeah.
But no, it's exciting, and it's exciting to see one come together. I mean, you've done most of the horrible, dirty stripping down stuff, so
yeah, like none of the engine needs any work. That was a 300 TDI that we had the cylinder head off, and it was like brand new, the engine. The gearbox has been reconditioned by Ashcroft.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking the LT77 back in it. The transfer box is actually half built, so my mate Pete is doing that for me with some new bearings, some TKN, is it, bearings? Timken.
Yeah.
Timken bearings, all the top spec there. That's been done.
Are you sticking to the Defender ratio, or are you going up to Discovery?
It's Discovery transfer box.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes, that came out of that Grand Rover that we bought years ago, the £1,000 Discovery that I used. So that's been taken to pieces just to refurbish it.
Yeah, give it a bit of a freshen up.
So yeah, I know when a project like that comes together, it kind of happens quite quick, doesn't it? All of a sudden, you get spurred on because when the bulkhead goes on, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Which is why that's my next big purchase. So I need to save up really, because you're talking £1,600 ish to £2,000, something in that region for a new bulkhead.
Sure.
So not an insignificant purchase, but
then again,
a worthwhile one.
Yeah, once you've done it once, it's done, isn't it?
Definitely.
And it will look lovely in the amaretto red.
I do like that colour.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just looping back quickly, I forgot to mention this while we were on the subject of buying Land Rovers. A couple of cars that have popped up on my radar in the last few days, actually, that have really caught my eye. A Freelander has come up for sale. A 2000 model year Freelander that has done 19,000 miles from new. And it's for sale on a popular classic car website. It is yours for £9,995. It's a 1.8 petrol. Looks like a base model.
Which
Steel
incidentally
wheels.
sounds fairly strong money, but find another one with only 19,000 miles.
Well, you won't. Actually, no, you might, because I've found on eBay there is a diesel one, which is another one owner from new. Slightly higher mileage. I think it's 36,000. The loyal old L series. Anyone who's had anything to do with an L series diesel Freelander will know that they're agricultural but strong. And that's currently on bids. I can't quite remember when it finishes, but a 2-litre XEDI. There she is. Look.
Okay.
39,000 miles and currently a non-runner, but it's an L series. There's not going to be much stopping it from running. As I speak to you now, £570 on bids. So that's a significant saving if you wanted a nice blue diesel one. Look at that little beauty.
And these are your classic cars now. These are today's current classic, usable classic vehicles.
We've had a very early Freelander in the mag recently, actually, in the classic section, belonging to Ron Brown, who worked at various departments across Land Rover and a couple of other brands. They're bona fide classics now. You know, people love them. They have such a following. I think that will probably go for reasonable money. The diesel, probably not 10,000 quid, but
probably not even 5.
Well, I've got it on watch. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. Maybe that could be the replacement for my Freelander. Buy another non-running Freelander. That makes sense, doesn't it?
And a Freelander 1 nonetheless.
Yeah.
Mm.
The other one that's caught my eye, and I really like this. You know, we were talking about limited editions previously.
In last week?
Yes. The Holy Grail, one of the Holy Grails of limited editions has come up. A Holland and Holland Range Rover P38. A very, very splendid looking car. Currently on eBay as well. For 19,995. which again does sound quite strong, but when you consider, again, not many of them were made, and the condition of this thing looks literally eat your dinner off it clean. It looks absolutely stunning. Not unfair, I wouldn't have said, given the current way things are, the current climate. Quite a sound investment potentially. Don't take my word for it. I'm
just going to show they're out there though. If you're prepared to look,
absolutely,
and put your hand in your pocket, they're there.
Yeah.
Good Land Rovers, good Range Rovers can be found.
They absolutely can. Anyway, but that's enough about that. We need to stop talking about Land Rovers that are for sale and getting all excited and giggly. The latest issue of Land Rover Monthly magazine's out today, so please go out to your local newsagent or shop and buy it, because it is packed with goodness. Especially big issue, this one as well. It
does look like a good issue, I must say.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased with it. It's got a beautiful 110 resto modded 300 TDI on the cover. You can't miss it. Fantastic photograph by the esteemed Alistair Cusick, doing fantastic work as always. And it's got a special section in it about how to improve your Land Rover for whatever you love to use it for. So be sure to check that out and make yourself a nice big shopping list and go out and sort of improve it for whatever you like to do best with your Land Rover. Because they are the most versatile vehicle on the planet for a reason.
No, definitely. Talking about Alistair, obviously the Euros final was on Sunday night, wasn't it?
Yes, and, yes indeed.
It's interesting because there's a lot of people into football, but not many of my friends or family are. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, my dad likes football. I've got friends that like football.
Okay.
I tolerate it. I'm not like anti-football. I don't hate it, but Alistair definitely had the right idea, didn't he?
So he actually went out in his Series 1 in deserted roads.
Yeah, he went out just before kick-off, I guess, which is just before 8 o'clock.
Yes, he had 90 minutes of pure driving pleasure in his Series 1.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful evening. Lovely. Like you say, completely empty roads, and he took some stunning pictures. So give him a follow on Instagram and you can have a look. He's Alistair Cusick. What a great idea. I wish I'd thought of it myself.
I know. Not stupidly, I sat in and watched football, I'm not even into. Yeah. Well, we all knew the answer to that, didn't we? Let's be honest. Not that I'm not a football expert. So yeah, Alistair on Instagram is just Alistair Cusick.
Yeah, spelled Alistair Cusick, Cusick.
Yeah, and so those images that he took on those deserted roads are on there, and what cracking images they are.
Absolutely, yeah, and a man who's an enviable collection. I mean, he's got a couple of lovely Land Rovers, hasn't he? He's got that Series 1 88-inch, and he's got a beautiful soft dash Range Rover Classic as well, which is equally beautiful.
Yes, it is fantastic.
What a great two-car garage. You've got sort of utilitarian bit of patina on the Series 1 and then a absolutely beautiful restored. He claims it's got a few blemishes and things like that now, and he's not entirely happy with how it's aged. I think he's done a remarkable job keeping it in the shape that it's in, given that he actually uses it as a car.
Definitely. He goes on his family holiday in it as well. Proper treat.
Absolutely.
To drive.
So good on you, Alistair, and give him a follow because he's a lovely old boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm all spent out now. I've poured my heart out about the potential demise of my Freelander, and we've explored avenues of potential other purchases. You'll know this time next week.
So people should definitely listen to our podcast next week as well. Probably next Wednesday.
It will
every
be.
Wednesday.
Yeah, every Wednesday. And if you want to stay notified, and why wouldn't you? Please do subscribe, and you can leave a review if you like. Your preferred streaming platform. Just click that thing, and then you'll get a little notification on your phone whenever a new podcast comes out, and you can join in with the conversation. Just drop us a comment on Facebook or send an email to editorial@lrm.co.uk.
I'm happy to answer any more questions as well.
Yes, yeah, we do really enjoy getting a bit of feedback and answering questions where we can. So yeah, keep it coming. It's all good fun. If you want to follow us on Instagram individually, I'm Land_Rover_Martin.
And I am Steve_Miller_automotive.
Yeah, so give us a little follow. And
I sound like a car dealer, don't I, with that sort of title?
I wish you were a car dealer. You might have something good
I
for
would
me to
love
buy.
to flog you a Land Rover. I would love to.
I wouldn't buy one and buy
I would
anything off
stitch you right up.
Yeah. Well, on
Purely
that-
for content purposes only.
Oh, that's fine then.
Yeah,
Cheers,
absolutely.
mate.
Yeah.
Who needs friends, eh? No,
I'd find that one lurking around the back of my car lot, so I go,
Some-
Martin's on his way.
absolute old
Let's get
rotter.
that little turd out and see if we'll
Flood
buy-
damage, rust, electrical problems.
Yeah. Sounds like most of the things I've owned in the past.
Sounds right up my street. But no, thanks again for joining us. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Bye for now.